attendons toujours des réponses aux questions claires qui ont été posées aux conservateurs au sujet du déploiement militaire en Irak. Hier, les conservateurs ont de nouveau refusé de répondre aux questions à ce sujet, préférant plutôt d'utiliser des remarques antiparlementaires. Le député de Selkirk-Interlake a affirmé que la mission prendrait fin le 4 octobre, mais n'est pas membre du Conseil des ministres et donc ne peut pas parler au nom du gouvernement. Est-ce qu'aujourd'hui, en cette Chambre, le gouvernement conservateur va confirmer aux Canadiens que l'engagement militaire de 30 jours en Irak prendra bel et bien fin le 4 octobre?
Bravo.
Mr. Speaker, our government has been clear both inside and outside this House that the clock did start of our 30-day deployment on September 5th. At the end of these 30 days, we will look at renewing the mission. The atrocity currently being committed by ISIL cannot be left unanswered. It's outrageous that the NDP would have us do nothing in the face of that threat. Mr. Speaker, it's time the NDP explained what they would do to stop ISIL and their terrorist regime.
Mr. Speaker, it's been confirmed that Canadian soldiers are required to have visas approved by the Iraqi government before they can be deployed. The member from Selkirk-Interlake, even if he's not a minister and can't really speak for the government, said last night that there were, quote, some difficulties in dealing with logistics. Since this military deployment is still ongoing, and since it is set to conclude in just 11 days, precisely how many Canadian soldiers are on the ground in Iraq today?
Secretary. Mr. Speaker, there is absolutely no fact to that statement at all. I can confirm that we have committed 69 members of Canadian Special Armed Forces to be in Iraq to provide tactical and strategic advice in a non-combat role, and that is exactly what we're doing.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
I know they find this complicated, Mr. Speaker, but it was actually a question and not a statement, and the question was how many of them are on the ground in Iraq now? When asked 2 weeks ago in committee, the minister said that as a status of forces agreement with Iraq outlining operating rules for Canadian forces had not yet been completed. That was 2 weeks ago in parliamentary committee, the Foreign Affairs Minister. Has that agreement, has that status of forces agreement now been completed? And if so, will the government table it in Parliament? Yes or no?
Hear, hear. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary of the Ministry of National Defence.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We've committed to 69 forces being deployed to northern Iraq to fight, or to be in an advisory role with the Peshmerga, helping them out along with the invitation of the Iraqi government. We are there strictly in an advisory role, non-combat. And it's very, very clear what we're trying to do there. It's been laid out by the Minister of National Defence. It's been laid out by the Minister of Foreign Affairs over and over and over again, and the NDP just doesn't get it. And, you know, really, why are they so opposed for us sending over members of the Canadian Armed Forces who have expertise in the area of counterterrorism?
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
There are no boots on the ground, so they must be in sandals or levitating. They're not in a combat mission, but they're there to fight. Hier, le député de Selkirk-Interlake a aussi laissé entendre que la mission en Irak de 30 jours pourrait bien prendre plus que 30 jours. Avant que le Canada ne s'engage plus loin, quand est-ce que les conservateurs vont respecter leurs propres promesses? Donner toute l'information à laquelle les Canadiens et les parlementaires ont droit et tenir un vote au Parlement après un débat de fond. C'est la question d'entrer en guerre du Canada. On a le droit de voter là-dessus. Ils l'ont promis.
The Honourable Member for Selkirk-Interlake.
Mr. Speaker, you know, the Government of Canada has routinely deployed the Canadian Armed Forces around the world in non-combat roles. It's never been the practice to have a vote on such deployments in Parliament. More recently, just recently, we have the HMCS Toronto in the Black Sea. We have troops on the ground in Poland taking part in exercises, and members of the Royal Canadian Air Force, plus equipment of the RCAF, are involved in air policing missions as all part of NATO's Operation Reassurance. And we never voted on any of that. Having said that, the opposition has their own opposition days that they can bring this forward to debate and also a vote.